والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. وقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا نبي الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. صلوات الله وملائكته وأنبيائه ورسله وحملة عرشه وجميع خلقه على سيدنا Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. Respected Imam, brothers and sisters. Today, inshallah, Alil Aziz, is the second Jummah in this month of Ramadan. And every Ramadan we would hear certain pieces of advice and certain reminders. And we know that this month is a special month. All Muslims know that Ramadan is a special month. Why is it special? Because we know it is the month that the Quran was revealed in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us in Surah Baqarah verse 185, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fil Quran. It is the month of Ramadan that the Quran was revealed. But even though it was revealed in the month of Ramadan, there is a night in the month of Ramadan that is even more worthy or more special in the entire month. And that night is the night of Qadr. As Allah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. Indeed, it was sent down on the night of Qadr. So we know that this month is a special month. And we know that this month is special because of the Quran. But what is our relationship with the Quran? How many of us are connected to the Quran? And in what way? Do we read the Quran every day? And if so, do we understand what we are reading? Are we just khataming the Quran then, in that sense? That we are just reading the Arabic phonetically. And you know what phonetically means? That we just sounding out the letters. We're just sounding out the words. But do we understand what we are saying? And this is a problem that we have. Because a lot of times you will hear people saying, boy, I khatam the Quran, I khatam the Quran every month, I just khatam the Quran twice for the month. Sometimes you hear people say, I khatam the Quran 3 times for the month. But if you ask them, brother, sister, do you understand what you are reading? No. If we want the Quran to transform our lives, we have to understand what we are reading. Yes, reading it phonetically, reading it sounding out the letters, we'll get blessings for it. No doubt, you'll get blessings. But if we want it to really transform us, we have to understand what we are reading. What is the benefit of the Quran, of reading the Quran? What is the benefit of reciting all of these letters, all of these words? What do we get out of it? We get some blessings, right? But what blessings do we get in this life? And what does the Quran do for us in the next life? The blessings that we get in this life, according to one narration, we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that if you listen to the Quran being recited, you get one reward, or 2 rewards. If you listen to it, you get 2 rewards or 1 reward. How come I call? But the one who recites the Quran, he gets a nur, he gets a light. We don't understand what it means to receive this light. What does it mean that you receive a nur? We know it's something great, but what is it? We don't know, right? But what about for us? What does it mean to us to recite the Quran? What do we get out of reading it? Most Muslims, one of the things that we are not accustomed with is being real. We like to hide our feelings, especially men. Men don't show feelings because this is the way we were brought up. Boys don't cry, right? Boys don't cry. But men are faced with a lot of problems and they have no one to turn to. Who do they go to? Who do they tell their problems to? A lot of men are depressed, whether they want to agree with it or not. They are depressed, and there are different levels of depression. How do you deal with that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Surah verse 28, He says, Allah bi dhikrillahi tatma'in al-qulub. Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah, do the hearts find tranquility. So if you are facing depression, you are feeling sad, you are worried, you have anxiety, one of the ways to deal with that is through the zikr of Allah. And one of the ways to do the zikr of Allah is to read the Quran. And this way you can help yourself or relieve yourself of some of the anxiety, some of the stress that you are faced with. But what about sickness? A lot of Muslims are sick. Can they find a cure for their sickness in the Quran? Yes. What's the cure? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Isra, verse 82, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ, that we have sent down this Quran but as a shifa, as a cure, and as a rahmah, as a mercy. What does it mean this Quran has been sent down as a cure? There are 7 verses in the Quran which are known as the ayats of shifa, the ayats of cure. And there are individuals who know how to use these ayats to achieve this cure, to achieve this remedy then. There have been instances in Trinidad where people who have been suffering with cancer have been treated with these 7 ayats and they are in a state of remission. This happened here in Trinidad, where people have been treated with the Quran. And for what? Cancer, of all things. 7 ayats Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us, which we can use. Again, in the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentions, the hadith is found in the Sunan of Imam Darimi, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, في فاتحة الكتاب شفاء من كل داء. In the Surah Fatiha, Fatiha al-Kitab, Surah Fatiha, there is a cure for every ailment or for every disease. I remember when we were studying, our teachers used to say to us, if we are feeling sick, recite Surah Fatiha and blow on ourselves. If we had any pain, they would say to us, recite Surah Fatiha and blow in our hand and rub it on the spot that pain. And we used to feel relief. This is what the Quran has for us. But how can we really access this knowledge? How can we access this shifa? How we can access these things from the Quran if we don't understand what we are reading? This is the problem that we are faced with. When we think about the Quran Al-Karim, and we want to understand the Quran, what we do? We go to a book of tafsir. And in English we have a few books of tafsir. And some of these books we get excited when we hear the names. Like we hear Tafsir ibn Kathir. And when we hear Tafsir ibn Kathir, we see 10 volumes. We say, mashallah, 10 volumes. Or we see Ma'arif al-Quran by Mufti Shafi, Osmani, 8 volumes, huge volumes. But do you know in Arabic, these things are not in comparison to what is available in Arabic. There is a tafsir of the Quran that was written by one of the Imams of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, Imam Abu Hassan al-Ashari. He wrote a tafsir of the Quran, 600 volumes. Not 10 volumes, not 8 volumes, 600 volumes to explain the Quran. Years later, he had another Mufassir of the Quran. His name was Imam Razi, Imam Fakhruddin Razi. He wrote a tafsir of the Quran. Tafsir is 50 volumes. You know what they call his tafsir? They call his tafsir Tafsir Kavir, the big tafsir. In reality, in comparison to what Imam Abu Hassan Ashari wrote, that shouldn't be Tafsir Kavir. That should be Tafsir Sagir. It should be the small tafsir. So you have a tafsir 600 volumes, and then you have one that is 30 volumes, and you consider one 30 volumes to be the big tafsir. One of the great scholars of India, Imam Naqi Ali Khan, he wrote 500 pages explaining Surah Alam Nasrah. 500 pages on Surah Alam Nasrah. These people understood the Quran. How do we understand it? How does the Quran benefit us for the next life? There is some hadith, inshallah, I would read, and we'll try to see how we could benefit from the Quran. Right? When we look at the Quran, what do we see? Take a look at the Quran, whichever shelf is on. What do you see? You see a book. You see 2 covers and some pages. That is most what we see. Eh? Do we understand what is contained in that 2 covers? Do we understand what is contained in those pages? Allah says in the Quran in Surah Hashr, If this Quran were to be revealed on a mountain, it would shatter. The mountain itself would shatter. If this Quran were to be revealed on a mountain, the mountain would shatter. And yet we look at it as just a book. Something simple to put on the bookshelf. Something we read when somebody passes away. That's the most time we read it, when somebody passes away. But the Quran is such a book. It's so versatile. Whatever problems you are going through in this life, you pick up the Quran. And sure, you will find a verse that is speaking to you. But whatever problem you are faced with, you will find something in that Quran that you can relate to. And no matter if you read that verse this year, and it meant something to you this year, next year when you read the Quran again, and you read that same verse again, it would mean something totally different to you. It seems as if you adapt to the Quran, or the Quran adapts to you. But whatever it is, the message is universal. For whoever in the world that reads the Quran, they find benefit in reading it. But something reaches out to them, something they can relate to. So this shows that the Quran has to be something that is alive, is a living book. When Aisha radiallahu ta'ala was asked, and everybody know the hadith, what was the akhlaq of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What was the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What she said? He was a living Quran. He was a living Quran. He was the embodiment of the Quran. How many of us embody the Quran? I don't know if we have any Khutbahs here, but most of us here, or all of us, memorize some pieces of the Quran. Even if it's only Surah Fatiha and Surah Ikhlas, everybody here knows something of the Quran. But how many of us embodies that? How many of us practice on what we have memorized? And she says about him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is the embodiment of him. He is the living Quran. And we are supposed to follow him. We are supposed to emulate him in everything that we do. In other words, we're supposed to follow the Quran then. We have to become more Quran-centric. Think about it. Something happens in the masjid or something happens at home. What's the first thing you do to find an answer? Do you go to the Quran to find an answer? Or do you go on Google and type up hadith concerning so-and-so? Everybody just go, hadith concerning so-and-so. Right? Like Shabi Barat was some time ago. Hadith on Shabi Barat. Go. And they get about 15 hadiths or 10 hadiths or whatever. And then they say, oh God, look how much hadiths have here. But all the hadiths we have. What not, right? You have these kind of arguments. Every issue somebody has, the first thing they do, put in Quran and the topic that they're looking for, Google. But how many of us go to the Quran then to find the answer to the problem that we are faced with? We are not a Quran-centric society, or not a Quran-centric community. We are Hadith-centric. And the problem with being Hadith-centric is that sometimes you find Hadith that apparently clashes with other Hadith. And if you don't know Usul al-Hadith, the foundation of Hadith, you will not know how to apply these Hadith. So you could put yourself in some more problem, in some hot waters then. This is the problem of just being Hadith-centric. Once the Quran, you could go to the Quran and look at the tafsir, etc. and understand it differently. So we have to start to get more close to the Quran then. And this is what Ramadan is for. Whole year most of us don't read Quran, whole year most of us don't listen to the Quran. But when Ramadan comes, something switches on in us. Where we want to hear the Quran. We want to put on IBN and listen to Quran. Right? Or TIN, or whatever you want to listen to. And you want to listen to Quran. Whole day, whole night you want to listen to Quran. You want to go in the mosque and listen to Tarawih. They're reading that at night. You want to go and listen to that. You want to hear the Quran. Why do you want to hear the Quran so much in Ramadan, but out of Ramadan you don't care to hear it? When I was studying in Damascus in 2008, when I would go to school, it was a long, I used to have to walk for like about 15 to 20 minutes to reach the school. And on the way to the school there were shops. And it was the practice of the people of that area, the Salihiyah area, that when they opened their shops, they would play the Quran. So while you're walking through the streets, you would hear different Quran. Some places they hear in Sudais, some places they hear in Shurai, some places they hear in Abdul Basit. Every store you walk by, you hear a different recitation of the Quran. How many of us listen to the Quran daily? In even our business places. I know a few businessmen, and I asked them some questions. And one of the things I asked them is, what practice do they have? Muslim businessmen, what is their practice? And they would say to me that after Salatul Fajr, they read some verses of the Quran, some pages of the Quran. Some of them do khatam, they do one juz every morning. And these are the successful ones. And that is their practice, every morning to read at least one juz or at least a few pages of the Quran. What about if all of us were to read some pages of the Quran every day, or one juz every day? Wouldn't we try to get the same success that they have? Inshallah, we have a few minutes, and I want to spend some time considering how the Quran could benefit us in the grave. When you die, you are placed in the grave, and you have these individuals who will come to the grave. Your mother, your father, if they are alive, your children if they are alive, your friends and your family members, they will come to your grave. And most of us here have been to graveyards, and we have visited when people are being buried. Haven't you seen for yourselves that when people go to the graveyard, most people are not concerned with the person in the grave, who's being placed in the grave? That most people stand outside by the grave and they carry on conversation, and they laugh and they make jokes. Haven't you seen that for yourself? People aren't concerned with you. Think about it. The janazah is by the masjid. How much people come by the masjid to the janazah? And then you go to the graveyard. How many people there in the graveyard? Hardly anybody. If 10 or 15 from the janazah attend to the burial, that is a lot. And out of the 10 or 15 that attend the burial, only 5 might see about the burial. The rest will stand up on the outside and make joke and laugh. After they bury you, anyone stays with you? No. Everybody walk away. Everybody walk away and mind their own business. Who remains with you? There's the 2 angels who visit you inside the grave. When they visit you inside the grave, they ask you certain questions. And after they ask these questions, what happens? They themselves would go. After they ask you the 3 questions, they would leave. What happens after they leave? Punishment starts to enter the grave. It starts to come from the right side, it comes from by the feet, it comes from the left side, it comes from by the head. Who is there with you in the grave to help you at that time? The Quran. If you had a relationship with the Quran will be with you in the grave. The Quran will stop the azab, it will stop the punishment. It will say, no, he used to recite me. That will help you in the grave. But if you're not reading it, you expect it to help you? This hadith, Imam Suyuti quotes it in his book, Shahr Sudur. What about if you haven't memorized the Quran? You haven't memorized any part of the Quran except for the few verses. Would that help you in the grave? There's a hadith that is found in a book. The name of the book is Al-Targhib fi Fada'il Amal. This book mentions the hadith from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It mentions that whomsoever recites the Quran and passes away before memorizing it. So they read the Quran but they haven't memorized it. An angel will come to him in his grave and teach him the Quran. An angel will come in the grave and teach that person the Quran. And on the day of judgment, he will be risen before Allah as someone who memorized the Quran. So how do we benefit from that if we are not in the habit of memorizing? Make the intention, inshallah, is to start to memorize the Quran. And every week, at least memorize a few verses. You might be able to memorize a whole surah, but memorize a few verses every week. Eventually you'll memorize the whole surah. If in that time frame you pass away, the intention is what? The intention was that you were there to memorize the Quran. So when you pass away, the angel will come into the grave and teach you the entire Quran. So on the day of judgment, you'll be risen as a Hafiz of Quran. What is the benefit of being risen as Hafiz of Quran? On the day of judgment, the Hufaz, the people who have memorized the entire Quran, after they are judged, it will be said to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, recite as how you recited in the world. And for every ayat they recite, they are risen by 1 degree, by one rank or 1 level. So imagine there are 6,000 or something verses, 6,600 something verses in the Quran. So Every verse you recite, you go up one level, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. That is the benefit of being Quran, of memorizing the Quran. So inshallah, let us make the intention to get this relationship with the Quran, get in the habit of reading the Quran daily, get in the habit of at least memorizing some verses of the Quran weekly, so that we could benefit from this relationship with the Quran, so that we could have a joyous character, inshallah. الحمد لله الذي جعل يوم الجمعة سيد الأيام ولا نعبد ولا نستعين إلا إياه هو الذي فرض الجمعة بقوله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي الصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع والصلاة على سيد الأنام حضرة مولانا محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى أفضل البشر بعد الأنبياء بتحقيق أمير المؤمنين أبي بكر الصديق وعلى ناطق بالصدق والصواب أمير المؤمنين عمر بن الخطاب وعلى كامل الحياء والإيمان أمير المؤمنين عثمان بن عفان وعلى سيد الله غالب أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب وعلى إمامين سعيدين شهيدين أبي محمد الحساني وأبي عبد الله الحسين وعلى أمهما سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء وعلى مه الشريفين المطهرين من الأدناس حمزة والعباس وعلى ستة الباقية من عشرة المباشرة